Right, here we are again. Long time no see, everyone. Oh man. So, we're going to catch up on a few of the league games now, while I still have the freedom to relax and do some streaming over the days. Just to show you, there's one game currently going, there's two of them about to start right now, hopefully, and then two more starting in about an hour. I think we'll at least go for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, but we'll see how we go. I think there's other streamers who might take over from me in a little bit, so I don't think we'll do everything. Alright, here's one of the games that's just starting as well. So maybe let's just see everything is working. It looks pretty good. Ah, yeah. Okay, so that was a Halloween costume that my mother-in-law used with my wife's younger sister's daughter. They went like trick-or-treating, or they had some activity. That is actually Ultraman, I think. 1 second. Ultraman, yeah, it's Ultraman in Japan. I'll quickly find a picture for you. Ultraman Japan. Before we go. It's this handsome fella. So my mother-in-law dressed up as this handsome man and did a little Halloween stuff with the younger kiddie who's like 4 or 5 now. Really cool. Anyway, and then on the other side, that would be my wife's grandfather, although we never met him. He passed away already, and that is the Japanese shrine in the house. I am in a traditional Japanese house right now. Alright, so let's have a look at what's happening with the games here quickly. This is the one that's been ongoing for a while. They're already apologies, 2 hours in, so they're under 5 minutes each. This was a Sicilian. Oh, hello, I haven't seen this in a while. A little gambit accepted, very nice. Like that, some madness in the Mora, as they say. C5, C4, E6. Okay, yeah, okay. Alright. Yeah. This is a bit of a... This is tricky when they come in here. Because they're looking on the spot over there. That's a tricky situation. Pushing the queen away. Forcing a trade. Okay, so this is looking pretty good for white. They're able to take control of this d6 square in front of the d7 pawn, so black has a bit of a problem developing further. The light square bishop is a bit trapped. Alright, let's see what else happened. Solidifying it, not going anywhere, and also they can retake with the pawn if they need to. It is isolated, but in the short term it will be quite a nuisance for black. Developing further. Little mate threat. Check and mate. Alright. This is looking dangerous. Okay, opening on the pawn. Oh man, yeah. And here obviously this defends both. Because the queen attacks both. Gets that in. Comes in with the knight. Oh my goodness, guys. Maybe you should have taken with the... Oh, then he does here and there. Okay, so maybe we take with it afterwards. Yeah. Alright, forcing a trade. And at this point, white's upper pawn and the light square bishop for black can't develop yet, so looking very strong. Developing out further, bringing back the bishop. Alright. Yo. Okay, you're gonna sack it to... Oh, and this is where we are now. Okay, cool. So, you can take, but then I fork you and I take the exchange as well. And then you have to decide if you want to drop your bishop for my knight or not, but the knight is also hitting the a2 pawn, so this is kind of the trick. So here, and then black can win another pawn here, but they still have not developed anything on their queen side, so whichever way the trade shakes down. Goodness me. My hot cocoa all over the place, apologies. Really good. Pretty tough stuff. Okay, let's have a look at the other game I just started. There's supposed to be 2 that starts now, but I see omertil and TheVacuousRom hasn't started yet. Okay, Astronominoff and LuzhinAcademy. Let's see. Good old Ultraman. Hey Sheldon, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming past. Oh, Valman Genot. I guess that's Val, right? Val 13. Thanks for coming past, man. That's a creative and interesting play in the league. Awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing their game. I see you're in here as well. Okay, so it's Astronominoff is white versus LuzhinAcademy. LuzhinAcademy sounds dangerous, and also they are slightly stronger, hey? 140 points up or so. So E4, E6 looks like a hopeful French, indeed. This, I by the way have been playing this in Blitz just for the heck of it, because against almost anything E6, D5 is fine. Alright, okay, and this is looking more like a King's Indian attack by white, although in this case black can force a trade, because after this white has to take back. Oh, black might be able to force them into a situation they don't want. So for a King's Indian attack, normally you need your knight over here. But the way that black has played this, I wonder if you have to kind of just play e5 immediately, so that they can't take the pawn. Go on there. Alright, okay, they do jump away. So basically this can turn into a sack if black decides to take, but it's for good activity. Or it's not a sack as such just yet. But still the way you take it back would be by trading queens, unfortunately, here. So if white wants to continue with this line, I guess what they could do is they could play their knight out first, which would be how you do the King's Indian deck normally. I feel like black has kind of just gotten them into a bit of a bind here in the opening already. Maybe a bit unexpected. I'm not sure if they saw this coming. Oh, I have to just set up some settings here quick. Alright, there we go. Yeah, this is looking a little bit tight for white. I mean, I get the feeling they don't want to trade queens early. That doesn't mean the game is over, obviously. Trading queens very early is just a queenless middle game. More cocoa. But if you don't want to do it, it's a very frustrating position to be in. Also, black is going to be able to kick that knight, so one way or another. Now you have to either move your queen. I don't like this though, because then again you can kind of force the trade. So yeah, I think if white doesn't want to trade queens, they kind of just have to play knight BD2 here, threatening the pawn, and then potentially sacking it for activity versus white. So my line goes like this, h6, not necessary, but you know, might as well push away the knight, and it probably comes back here to f3, and then black's up a pawn, but behind in development. Maybe they develop here, they castle. Yeah. And then black wants to develop this side of the board, and white still wants to develop two of those pieces, but they're a little bit ahead and a bit more active with their light square bishop here. We'll see. Let me have a quick look if the other third game has started. Refresh. No, third game has not started, but it looks like that first game has moved a bit. I mean, this game looks like it should be ending soon. Okay, so they took... Why do I have no board sounds? Give me the sounds. There we go. They took the rook. Oh, okay, and white decided to sack for an extra pawn. Very interesting. And also, that's a nice move because it defends the a2 pawn. Great find. In my original quick look, I didn't see that. So take, then they take. Now white is just up a pawn. Clean pawn. Also kind of, well, black's going to be able to play bishop c6. But until that, you know, there's maybe some activity for the rook. And indeed they come in and they do play that. And what's this? Just trying to force a pawn a rook trade. We're just going here, forcing the trade. Hitting this pawn. I mean, this could still turn out to be a draw, you know. All tress is drawn. But also 1 pawn up doesn't really secure a win. I think 2 pawns up is almost definitely a win. If it's kind of just king pawns. In what situation? Okay, I know in what situation. I think there's a situation where you have like you have this pawn here, and then they have their black pawn here, and then you have the same on this side. In that case, it's a 2-on-1 on both sides, but you can't immediately win. Although, I don't know, do you then break through with your king maybe? If they have their king there as well. Okay, but in most situations, 2 pawns up, I would say, is almost always a clear win. For white, yeah, I don't know. I think there's no haste to trade. This king can't really do much. I guess if it comes here, it's a bit tricky for you. Then you can go there. Comes forward, then you lose this. So actually, maybe this is the time now. If you're going to trade, you got to be ready now. Nice find by black. Forcing you to do this first, and then they can still move their king over. I guess you could do this though. Just bring your rook to the other side. Black has to get their rook active. Very tricky. Let's see. Third game up yet? Ooh, sorry. Third game up yet? No third game. Omertil, where is your opponent? Or where are you? I don't know who's missing. Okay, and indeed, white did play what I expected. My board keeps putting the sound out. They did play knight bd2, so I guess they were kind of hoping for a normal King's Indian attack, although it didn't quite turn out that way. Hey Omer, hang on, you should be playing. What's going on? Why are you in the stream? No, you shouldn't be here. You should be on the board, man. What are you doing? You should be playing. We're waiting for your game to start. Where's your opponent? Oh, Val says you're sacking a pawn in the opening is pretty much standard for Astro. Okay, maybe he walked into this line on purpose. Although I'm not gonna completely agree with that. It might be standard, as in like he just makes, you know, less worries about losing a pawn, but they thought a long time about playing knight bd2, longer than they would if they were kind of planning it. All right, then black does take, and now they can take back with their light square bishop and get some more activity. Vacious, oh, is it Room? I said Rom. VacuousRom seems to be offline. Oh, okay. Well, I was hoping your game would be here, man. I was looking forward to watching it. And I'm sorry, it's not Vacious, it's Vacuous, isn't it? That's a little pronunciation blooper. All right, still what we expected. Bishop takes bd3, so white has sacked a pawn for activity. In my line, h6. Okay, we're still doing exactly. And here I thought that white doesn't want to trade pieces, so they're probably going to play knight f3. They could obviously play knight e4 as well. They could play knight h3, although I think that might be a bit silly. Phone keyboard. Oh, okay, that's what's happening. No worries, man. Absolutely fine. Well, I'm glad that you're here in the meantime, but I do hope that you'll play your game, because we're actually here to watch you play. But I appreciate your participation in the meantime. Oh, okay, this is the part I didn't see. I didn't think they would play knight over here, although I can kind of see why. I can kind of see a good one here. Hey, we've got Fabian and Val in the Leeches chat as well. Fabian, get onto the stream. Are you here? Fabian, tell me if you're on the stream. You're always here, but I don't see you. Alright, and black does take, because, well, I don't know. I mean, they could have developed their dark square bishop here, and then after white takes, take back, and kind of have it active. They could have also, oh shit, they also could have put the other knight over first in this position. I actually don't know. I mean, 2200, you know, so I shouldn't say what I think is terrible, but I feel like black could have gotten a move in here without taking, because it just kind of helps white, because now their dark square bishop was also open already. I'm not so sure if that was really necessary. It's probably fine, right? There's a lot of moves that are fine, but you could have gone just a little bit more out of it, maybe, as black. Oh, but they want to play knight c6. Okay, in that case, I guess, if you don't want to put your dark square bishop where I was pointing to, knight c6. Are you going to try and get some pressure down here? Are you going to... Oh, you know what? Is black trying to force a trade still by putting the knight here, hitting the bishop, and if the bishop moves, they take the queen. I wonder if black is still kind of trying to just pushing on this trade queen idea. That must be it. One of these jumps is not the same. One of these jumps, both of them hit the light square bishop. If it moves, you trade queens, which seems to be what black has been kind of aiming at. Although, if white castles, at least they can take back with their rook. In which case they would have even more activity. Or at least a continuation of their ongoing activity. Let's double check again here. Oh, here we go. Okay. Omertil and Vacuous are going into their game. Let's just double check what happened here quickly. Yes, here. Okay, and white came back with their knight, taking the C file instead of the F file. I thought they would trade actually. And black put their rook on the G file. Okay, defending the pawn. Fair enough. Not what I expected. I mean, you can't put on the F file, so that's fair enough. It's covered, but I kind of expected white to trade. Maybe this is just how black hopes to get their rook out into the game, you know? I mean, they can still force a trade, actually. Okay, this is exactly what's happening. Where are you going with that? Are you coming in here to force a trade this way? Do you want a trade to happen? I mean, black is down a pawn. Unsure. Uncertain. Omar is playing. The game just started, Val. Sorry, I don't think they shouldn't be here anymore. Omar, if you're here, get off the stream. You shouldn't be listening. Whether or not my comments are even remotely correct, don't put yourself in any danger. Their game has started. Here it is. Omertil versus TheVacuousRom. I don't know what ROM is, but I actually double checked what vacuous is to make sure that I'm not mistaken. Vacuous means kind of like empty, without thinking. And the example that Google gave me was vacuous smile, and I thought, man, that is something that you would read in like a script for some interesting kind of thriller movie. Oh, is this a Grunwald? What have we got? D4, knight f6, c4, g6, could be a kid. Knight c3, d5. Straight into a Grunwald, ne? Alright, I personally play the exchange quite a lot here, so I take, and they take, and I push, and they take here. And I also lose a lot, because the Grunwald is actually really, really uncomfortable to play against, if you don't remember. Omertil, we can see you, but I can't actually tell you that, and you shouldn't be able to know if I know, so check it, guys. If Omertil ever like whispers out of their game, oh thanks, now I know you can hear me, then we know that they're listening. Banhammer for you. Let's hope they're not doing that though. That would be not cool. In space no one can hear you say no. Vacuous, yeah, I guess so, like a vacuum, right? Good point. Aunt class pub quiz. Oh my word, those were the days. I don't know if anyone else used to do pub quizzes or still do. In university there was a bar called Aunt class, which basically means evening class, and yeah, that was a good time. Good old quizzes. I think I won like a massive Springbok, well, not a green hoodie, but not this one. I think I have it in a closet still, because it was like 7 sizes too large, but I took it anyway. So I still have it, because I can barely wear it, so it hasn't worn out at all. Alright, okay, not the exchange, just putting the bishop on f4. Interesting times. Okay, and black says that they weren't expecting c4, they were expecting a c3 London. Which, a c3 London in my head just basically means a London. I don't really know c3 as one of the names for the Londons. But indeed, this is a different game. Okay, I mean, I might be able to learn a few things here, because I don't normally play this way versus the Grunwald, so Vacuous might be able to teach us a few things. I'm going to run off to the other game quickly, the one that was close to ending as well, and then we can go past Astronominoff again. Okay, Yes, attacking the pawn, pushing it forward, hitting the rook. And I expected the rook to kind of come here for a trade, or come here to kind of hit the king here, and the king comes here, then you can check him this way. Here, and the king comes there. You can actually hit him this way if you want. A little bit dangerous though. But actually this pawn is hanging right now. So what would... Oh, okay, but very dangerous here, because you get a fork in. Yeah. But white's getting very low on time. Dangerous stuff. White has some good activity, but... Yeah. I don't know, I feel like they should have traded the rooks when they had the chance. You know, it feels silly to trade down, but... I wasn't sure how they were going to win this. At least if they have the extra pawn on the side of the board, maybe they could have played some way to break through at the right time. You know, with whatever pawn is alive, maybe it's this pawn and the king and the bishop, kind of taking care of certain squares. The bishop can help push the king back, and if that's the case, you can kind of come out. You can't hit him on the light squares in front of it though. Yeah, they could just leave the king there and back and forth. Maybe trading the rooks was the bad idea then. Tricky. Astronominoff should have moved. Astronominoff still hasn't moved. Oh, they castled, okay. C6 and castled. Alright, this game is going pretty slow. So I'll come back to this again, but basically I thought black's idea was to jump the knight, hit the light square bishop, and still kind of force a trade. I thought they might be interested in just getting the queens off. This was their threat earlier on that black parried by putting the knight on d2, but then eventually they took here as well. It is a bit dangerous obviously for black as well, you know, doing all of this extra moves. You're not developing, you're going to trade off the knight potentially, and I guess if they move their queen now it's too late, isn't it? Well, yeah, you can mess up their pawn structure, I guess, which would be pretty strong actually. But then for black, I think it's, you gotta put your bishops out. Yeah, and actually that's maybe a little bit dangerous. If you don't have a knight, then you've actually traded this off, so you've got two bishops versus a knight and a bishop. It's a little bit uncomfortable. Oh, they do go for it. Okay, so black coming in. Obviously if you try to avoid it this way, you have to take back with your bishop as well to avoid losing your c-pawn. So if you come back this way, take this, then you still have to move. Okay, so then you might actually win a tempo back. Alternatively, if you do this, white has to accept an isolated d-pawn on top of having one less pawn. So that might be a little bit tricky. But I do worry about how black is going to develop, because at some point this player is going to catch up with them and they're going to have to spend a few moves to do something. And in that case, white might have a little bit of activity too much. Could be dangerous. Nothing like a bit of cocoa on a cold night. No? I actually don't even remember winning, to be honest. I just remember that the pub quizzes were fun, eh? In space, no one can hear you say no. Yes, that sounds like the kind of stupid stuff I would have come up with in university. To be fair, if Luchin did prep and look at Astro's games, it's no wonder why he tries to trade everything to go for a boarding position. Alright, I guess as you say, if that's part of the prep, what's the threat here? I'm going to let you take an additional pawn. And then what? I guess this is something. This makes no sense to me. What does white do after black just takes? I guess this is the threat. Okay, hang on. So maybe you take, I play here, your rook's hanging in the corner obviously. If you block it with a pawn, I'll take and check. Nope. If you block it with a pawn, I cry. Oh, no, you can't. What am I saying? Obviously it's tied to your king. So you block it with the bishop. Then I guess we can trade off and I can keep my d-pawn. Oh my goodness. I mean, after this move, obviously there's also a chance to get one of the rooks out, but you could also get the rook out now. No, you can't. This isn't as... Oh my goodness, guys, what happens after this? Oh, then it's this. Oh, okay, hang on. Man, I got a little bit of like a heart attack there. Here. That's a check, so you can't take back immediately. So you can't move the knight. You can't protect the knight either. Yeah, that's a good play by white. Getting the queen out of the way, and because it's only moved once, it's still defending the same pawn. The same position. I'm not saying pawn. So for black, this might be the time to get some development going. As said, feels like it might be dangerous for them if they don't move some more of their pieces. There's something like this maybe. If you take that, I can take this. I can take it over here. Jump it out of the way, I can take this. Oh man, the longer I look at this move, the more interesting it looks. I guess this is the point. Then I take here. You have to take with your pawn, because the rooks would disconnect, so take with the pawn. Oh wow. I mean, white has got so much activity there. Everything is all over the place. But black is still up a pawn and a pawn structure in that position. It is a little bit dangerous. Bishop xf4. If knight f4. Oh yeah. No, this was trash what I looked at, but I think you would take here first and then you would take it. So yeah. Yeah, I'm looking now here. Queen d4. Threatening something, although the knight isn't protecting it. So you're basically threatening the knight. Oh man. Take, no good. Here that falls. You have to move the knight back first, I guess. But then this hangs. So you here, and then you have to move your queen to protect it, I guess. Knight back hitting, now you're gonna lose. Well, here, take a queen with check, defend, take a knight. No, it doesn't work. Omertil, there is no reason to say hi to me in the chat, and I hope you're not here listening to me. Oh, okay, unexpected. I thought it was queen d4, but in fact queen d5. Just putting the question to white immediately. And obviously if you take, then everyone's knights are hanging. Take, this is also hanging, and this one is hanging. That would be interesting. Here, take, here. Very interesting stuff. Very interesting, very interesting indeed. Alright, let's jump over quickly to a different dam and just refresh. Fresh and refresh. Oh, this one's still going. Interesting times. Please take off the... There we go. Alright, this is where we left off last time. h3 hitting the rook. I was expecting it to come over here somewhere because it looks like they don't want to trade rooks, so probably here. That is where it went. Bishop back defending against d2. So he goes d1 instead, trying to get him behind. Okay, now everyone's defending their pawns with their bishops. It's a whole bunch of defensive moves. Try to trade off a pawn. I mean, what happens if you just take here? Isn't that just good though? That's just a pawn that's free. Could still take. Can you get trapped there? No, because you got this square to get out. Okay, so the h3 pawn is just permanently hanging. White can't defend it. But when they came here, it wasn't actually under attack, so white could have done this. Oh, but you can come here. Oh, okay, it doesn't actually work, because you come there, and then you can't do this, because takes with check. So you have to kind of fall back. And the pawn drops anyway. Oh, okay, wow. So black's also just gone in to be able to win a pawn either way. Checks, checks again, comes in behind, takes the pawn, comes in behind, goes to the front. Now black and white have got pretty good rooks. I would say black's is a little bit better. White's rook is also under attack. 1 second. Oh no, they're going the other way. Oh my goodness, I was like, wait, isn't this hanging? What's going on? I'm losing my mind here. Okay, f-file, looking good. So white can check, he comes here. So this bishop plan is kind of iffy, I don't like it. You can take the pawn though. Pretty good. Check, come down, take the pawn, come down. Cry about it. Can't defend the pawn anymore. What if you check and he comes down and you play your rook down, your bishop down first? Then they probably push. And you can check, it's not so useful though. Or you can do this and check here. And they have to get off of this. And you can push again. But then the pawn would be out of the reach of the bishop, so that becomes a little bit tricky. Could be interesting though. From black's perspective, check, you can't take it. Get the pawn past. What to do, yeah. And now for white, here, yeah. So, I don't know, I feel like bringing the bishop back might be nice. Okay, just decides to get in front of the pawn. Now the rook has to be there to defend it. Although, you could do this as well. In which case, there's no mate there, but it's still pretty good. Still pretty good. Here. Check, check. You would drop the bishop, but you could... I mean, assuming that white doesn't do anything to stop you, you could basically pawn queen then with your pawn on the corner there. Could be good. Just gotta change position. Been doing this on the futon. And although futons are nice, I do prefer a slightly thicker mattress most of the time. And a slightly bigger table some other times. Alright, king up, gonna force the issue, make a move with your rook. You can go back, you can check me. Alright, checks me. I guess now you're gonna take this, because you can't... If you force this trade here... There's no mate there. Take. Here. Check. Can't go here. Okay, so black still down a pawn. And now it's got to pass on the G file. Dangerous. I'm gonna go cycle through again. With 3 games, I feel like we should at least look a little bit at all of them. Alright, last we were here. Oh, they did. Okay, so bishop f4, bishop g. Take what? Just stop getting the sound off the whole time. Is there a setting I can change? 1 second. I don't know why the sound keeps going off the whole time. Anyway, alright, f3, castles, rook c1, c5. Goodness me, a lot happening. Everyone takes, trade a pawn, trade a queen. Okay, the normal move obviously would be to continue with your own e-pawn, but now that's not possible. Omertil doesn't have control of that square. That is white's. In return, they've castled though. White hasn't castled, so they could move in with what? Maybe behind this knight, they would have to protect it. You can take and drop your rook in here, although it's not so useful. I think these are pretty standard moves though. Pretty standard. After this, you don't quite have enough for that either. So maybe you jump this way, and after they move the bishop, then you can get... They come here. Don't know if that's so useful though. Black's actually really keen to do this, but what to do? After the knight comes to g5. You can't really trade it in that position, you just have the worst pawn structure alive. You just have to go back then, I guess. There's some knight jumps that can take the pawn. I suggest just getting in front of it, not even taking it. But this is also something good for white, because they are targeting the c-pawn. And black isn't targeting the opposite c-pawn. So I thought this was pretty standard, but maybe you should just go for that pawn now. They can defend it obviously, but probably in the long run you can get it. Try to keep your own pawn alive. Tricky situation. It's not so much, I don't think, you don't specifically have to keep this pawn, you just don't want to go a pawn down for no reason. White's also got this e4 pawn out already. TheVacuousRom, making a lot of nice vacuous space right around here. Taking all that space. Got control of these squares right here, which is quite nice. They've got control of this square. Yeah. White's got a lot of activity. Black, I mean, this is something to be unleashed. When you fianchetto behind your own knight, eventually you jump the knight and you unleash the attack down the diagonal. But even without that, because black castled and then took with their rook, their queen side just hasn't moved. A little bit less active. Sure. Cold tonight, not sure how much. Small numbers, probably a single digit. Almost definitely a single digit, I would say. But you never know. White says they also don't quite know what's next, so everyone's a little bit out of book now. Yeah, this is tricky. I did like this. You know, opening up and also just hitting this. They could take your knight, obviously. You at least would have the two bishops though. And in that case, if they start pushing the pawn here, you could prop it off. This square becomes a bit weak though. Tricky. Alright, merry-go. Oops, sorry. My mouse decided to come in and out. Merry-go-round continues. The other game we haven't looked is over here. So last we saw that black was offering a queen trade with queen d5. Alright, so what did white do? White decided no trade, no dice. Also threatening the pawn here. You can play d6, but then the queen can move and keep the threat. And that's exactly what happened. g6 kicking the queen. This pawn is still protected, obviously. You just move back though, and if they take, the rook is still hanging. After they move their bishop though... Oh, okay, no. The problem is that the knight is still hanging. I mean, you shouldn't really be trying to keep it though. Should you? Yeah. Very tricky. If they moved here, for instance, here, you have to take back with your knight, and then they take there, and then it's hitting your knight as well. Yeah, so good move by white. I think queen h4 was probably the only move that didn't cause a bit of problems. Now for black, they've been lulled into moving more and more of their kingside pawns. The danger that's coming is that their knight is hanging. They could attack the c-pawn. You know, they could just be like, alright, there you go, I'm attacking your c-pawn. So you take my knight, I take your c-pawn, or you take the knight with the c-pawn, you have an isolated d-pawn. Super sharp stuff. I think so too. Oh, and black piles on the pressure. I don't care if you take that, I'm taking your knight. Alright. Is there any reason not to take with your queen in this position? Actually, I think so. I can see... Well, no, because the problem is if you take here, this is going to be a knight-rook situation, right? So this would be kind of like an equal trade. No, not really. Well, kind of. In this case... Yeah, so this is... What I liked about this is, after you take the queen... No good, right? You have to take back like that. And now the queen takes. Crushing stuff. White just wanted... black just won a piece, just like that. Equal, right? One up. This is the piece they went missing. So they took a piece, and now black's just took a piece back but immediately lost another one. Crushing move. Oh, white's not giving up though. There's mate there, the rook's hanging, castle, rook d1. Light square bishop can't move. You can attack there, but that doesn't quite help. You can push the queen around. But this is intense. Black just found an amazing way to untie that situation. Taking that extra piece. I'm actually gonna just look at it again, because I actually forgot that the piece wasn't balanced out yet. So black took, and the point was that the white had rook d1 to pin the knight to the queen. But after this, if I take back and you take, then I take here, then you still take an extra piece off me, right? So after this, are you just... Oh my goodness. And they resigned. Let's just see here, 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 here. And after e5, just a clear resignation. Black would be happy to trade off the queens. They're just a clear pawn and light square bishop up. So here this opens up the light square bishop. What a crushing game. We do not see 45-45 games ending in 43 minutes normally. Absolutely crushing. Let's quickly go over to the analysis board before we go back to the other games. Wow, 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 wow. Alright, here, so in this case, d5 is the main move. Knight c3 is the main, so you can retake. Knight c3, and if they push, I guess you jump here, yeah. Alright. Yeah, taking is just master's game, obviously, but this is just all draws, right? So here we already deviate. Let's see the analysis go. Yo, Astronominoff, that was tough stuff, man. LuzhinAcademy just absolutely iron-fisted control over that game. Yeah, just all the way. Yo, GG. That was tough stuff. Ah, this analysis is taking too long. I want to go back to the other games. It's still going. There we go. Okay, now white was just never actually better. Very unfortunate. I think black just kind of... But they weren't expecting d5? I mean, it's like way at the start. Does black always play something else? Maybe they just weren't expecting kind of the e6 French defense structure to start with. And then trying hard to avoid trading off queens ended up just being... So they sack a pawn for activity. I disagreed with black taking here, but afterwards it turned out that they had this idea. Yeah, so they do jump. Queen out looked like a good move. I thought it was great, but it seems, yeah, here you're just a clean piece down. There's no way for white to get it back after you found queen d5. What a move. What happens if you just try and like get out of it, you know? Yeah, this is what I saw. I thought this might be something interesting to look at, but okay. Yeah, you're just down a piece. GG, guys. What a game. Miniature. 17 moves. We don't see that a lot. LuzhinAcademy takes it confidently. Alright, so that's one of the two games we're here to see start off. Let's quickly see what Omertil and Vacuous are going on with. We were here... Yeah, we were here, and we are literally one move further. Wow, okay, you guys are taking their time, big time. So, e4 was played, and then black decided they would go with the knight jump. So, the obvious point was here that you could take the... the pawn, and they're taking your pawn, but you can't really defend it in any good way, you know. I don't think either player really has to defend these pawns. It's not really worth it. That said, this pawn is going to get hit, so here, then this pawn is hit, so double attacking it, kind of difficult to keep it safe. A little bit tricky. Little bit tricky. If you take, if you can't defend it, you can push it. Pushes the knight out of the way. Hits your bishop or hits the pawn, depending on where they jump it. This way, for instance. Yeah, I think this game is not done at all yet. There's a lot of potential moves that can still happen here. If I was white, what would I do? And I just said it's a bad move, but what if you actually just decide to defend your pawn? Black can defend their pawn this way. No, they can't. What am I talking about? Alright, nice move by white. Rook d1, just pinning your knight to the rook in the back. It's a bit unfortunate for black. I'm not sure if they saw this and thought there was another way around it. But currently that rook is unprotected, so the knight can't move. Nice in-between move. Actually, that might cause some problems here. No, not quite. Maybe with this, and then here you want to get more and more attack. Well, no. Yeah, I guess it's got 3 defenders, So you need to get 3 attackers. 1, 2, 3. So if you take here and then you go here and then you also jump the knight, that would be a good thing in the position where they have just moved their b pawn, looking to unwind the queen's side, because they can't. But difficult situation. A little bit of a bind for black now. Hard to move their pieces out. They kind of get stuck here. Tricky, tricky, tricky. Just notice also, omertil did win the last time, but it looks like they're currently a little bit behind. I'm going to move across to the third game, because that one was supposed to be ending ages ago. Not really, but you know, obviously it was definitely an end game. Here, this is where we were last. Queen g6, did take, okay, yeah, and they did trade the rooks. And now we've got 4v3 opposite bishops. As we know, any opposite bishop is clearly always a draw, unless it isn't. So, coming for the pawn, I don't know, what did this do? Pawn isn't, you can't take it anyway. Okay. Okay, coming in with the king. You don't want the king to come around, because then he can start, escorting the pawn back. Although, if you were here and they did this, then you could pin it to the king, and you would win it. So actually that could work. So black could let them do that in the right moment. Yeah, okay, shuffling. Alright, white decides I'm just gonna leave my bishop to keep all of this safe, and I'm gonna run my king over this way, I guess. What has black got? The only thing black's got, or white got here, is to try and like liquidate on this side in some way. Really difficult to find a win here. Coming around. Black offers draw, yeah. Yeah, I think this is a tricky one. Can you win this? Alright, yeah. Here comes white. Time to think now. Is there a way to get something out of this? I think there is. Like an idea. Basically, black can't lose as long as their king is keeping this pawn safe. So, you can't break through here. Sorry, you can't break through here because the pawns are strong enough on their own. And if you trade everything off, then everything's just traded off. Like, there's nothing to it. This bishop can keep both of these pawns safe. So you can like trade here, but that means nothing really. Your only way forward is here. But what to do? And they just start shuffling their bishop back and forth. Your king can't come in. So back to this side. Maybe you want opposite sides here. Again, I think that black has the draw. I don't see any way for white to make progress. Call me crazy. You're welcome to tune in and tell me I'm wrong, but I think that black is going to hold this draw one pawn down. As said earlier in the stream, I'm pretty sure you need to lose at least 2 pawns to really be in serious trouble. Okay, I'm seeing something interesting here. Oh no! Okay, big apologies everyone. My YouTube chat wasn't updating. So I didn't see like the last like 20 messages. I just saw on the preview for the stream that there's a bunch of messages that look like something I've seen. Give me 1 second, let me catch up here quickly. What am I seeing that's different? Move for not, just to take the rook and threaten mate. Queen of 3, g5, can a force piece of pretty, yeah, no one fancy for that. Hey Gary, nice to see you around, man. And hello Jay, and Fabian's back. Really curious how white is trying to continue here. It's very slow, but they're playing very fast. I like black, I'm here to watch the party. Where's the popcorn? Dude, I would love some popcorn. I also want some more hot cocoa. Jordan, if you're heading into the kitchen, hot cocoa please. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a clean draw. Black's already offered it. I don't think there's any real way to get out of that, so I think we'll move us one up. Accepted. draw agreed, draw by mutual. Okay, that's insulting, but there's there's some fun things you can say by draw by something something. But these guys played a good game, so let's not make unfair comments. I just want to check here in the late game. There was one or two moments after this exchange happened. I thought that there was still a way for white to make progress, and I specifically thought that they should trade off the rooks and they start running their king in. I thought that there might be something there. I mean, it may be crazy, but I thought there might be a way for them to kind of, target this pawn or do something like that. So I'm just going to quickly let the analysis run, and while it runs, let's quickly look over to the other games. Oh wait, I have to keep this open on a different tab, right? Alright, so currently we've only got Vacuous and omertil still going. So after Vacuous found a great rook d1 pin on the knight, omertil decided to play their pawn up. Alright, am I crazy? Is this not just a sack? If I take here and you take, I get your rook. Because you need another move to take my knight with check. I mean, I can see this, right? You get with check, but the rook hangs first. So if you take... Oh man. Very interesting. Okay, White's got a comment. Didn't calculate bishop c4, exf, bishop xf7. Oh, okay. So this is their point here, and then you take. And then what? No, I'm not sure that's even a line we have to carry about. What happens if I just take the pawn? This is a pawn sack, isn't it? I don't feel like the e5 move really gave you any... Where did the pawn come from? e7. You weren't blocking your light square bishop either. I mean, what am I missing? Isn't it just a pawn sack? Didn't you just sack a pawn? It's a pawn sack and you can't take back because... Oh, sorry, it's a pawn sack because you can't take back because your rook is still hanging on d8. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Oh, it's 10 o'clock on my side. So there's two more games that are about to start. I'm going to lead Vacuous to come to the conclusion I did, which is take. Sorry, just take. And I would take with the bishop. Because if there's something funny, I can trade it off. I feel like trading with the knight is a bit uncomfortable because everything is kind of unprotected and hanging and funny. Bishop takes is what I'm going with. Alright, let's get over here. Oh, let's just quickly look at this game. I wanted to see, this is the one that just came to a draw with this ending. And massive draw. Okay, but White had some great winning chances here. Oh, they had to get the bishop over to this side, I guess. Let's see what the line is. Bishop e7. Yeah, you have to get your bishop on the king side of the pawn so that it and the rook can mess around here. Maybe a second pawn and then you win. Okay, something to keep in mind. GG. Very interesting game though, and went quite a distance, right? 70 moves. Nice number to finish on. Alright. Okay, so sorry, there's two moves. Oh, there's two games. Sideshow, Bob, and is it BarbarAusBielefeld? BarbarAusBielefeld? Could be. Something that I hope is supposed to be pronounced Pe-lle, and then Racheschach. There's so many words here I don't know how to pronounce. Any help welcome, guys, if you know how to do that. Yeah, Jordan, I think this is just a pawn chucked down the chute, hey? Black did say they want to open up the E file, but I think it's basically just a sack. I don't really see a way for them to follow up it anyway after white takes it. And I would take it if I was white, because it's the thing attacking my bishop. I don't see any reason not to take it. I guess what could happen here, you know, here that all black had to do, I guess, was move the rook off the file first, and then they could still take this pawn, right? Here, I guess you then come in with the threat. So the bishop is being attacked, and then you can take this way, but maybe you want to win this pawn, so maybe you take with your dark square bishop, also putting pressure on the knight over here. I'm very uncertain what is going on. Don't see it. It's got to be a pawn that's dropped. The player did say, but the player, okay, this is also a thing, right? You know, I'm checking in Lichess if they're saying anything that might be related. Yeah, nothing about what I'm pointing out, which is just take the pawn. It's just lost. So I don't know if maybe black realized that and then stopped typing. I haven't watched a lot of their games, so I'm not sure if they're someone who always types even if they realize they made mistakes, or maybe they stopped typing because they're trying to think a little bit. Gary says, wow. Oh, the scrolling down the engine line. Yeah, man, it's really good. It just gives you an idea, because I don't always want to play out every move, and especially if you turn on the engine, your computer keeps calculating as you play the moves, right? So I just scroll over it, and Lichess kind of pops out what the position is supposed to look like. It's really easy stuff to do. Okay, we're gonna come back to that, guys. 11 BC1 instead of 11 BXE5. What did the player see that I didn't? Is it that it's pressure? So if you take, is it rook over, pressure on the bishop, and after the bishop moves, pressure on the pawn? Take here, and then this knight. Oh, and the king is open. Maybe that's what it was. It's got to be, because otherwise, I don't know. Here, rook over, you can protect this one. Here, check, take, here, over there. It's not. It's just. Well, I guess this is a little bit like what Black said. They did say earlier they want the E file to open up. So maybe the point was that they're hoping to sack the pawn and then win the E4 pawn back, because White's king is still in the middle. So they would get a little space. So here, if you take over, double attacking the bishop. Bishop falls back, pick a place. Then I take your pawn. And you can take back, or you cannot take back. You probably want to take back. Here, 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 but then you lose this pawn. And then I go here, up. Oh, interesting line. But maybe this is just better, bishop c1. Okay, and here black goes. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Maybe I'm playing with the idea that the king is actually castled. Although White's king hasn't castled, they haven't even moved their light square bishop yet. I don't think taking on e5 was worth it. Black gets a lot of activity and probably gets a pawn back anyways. Yeah, no, TheVacuousRom, fair enough. I think I stand corrected. I think that the activity that Black gets, yeah, you know, activity, pawn, sometimes not. But if you haven't castled and you can't because you still have a light square bishop in the way, a little bit too dangerous. So now I'm probably just going to end up trading our c pawns. Bishop takes c4, knight takes. Oh, you're gonna have a problem with your with your e4 pawn as well though. So I wonder if you end up trading light square bishop and knight. So this pawn is currently once protected, and after the knight take it's going to be twice attacked. So if you take here and they take, then you can take here to defend, because your light square bishop is also defended by your rook, but then they can take, and then they would have the bishop pair versus your single bishop. You have two knights, which is still fair. It's an open game. There's a nice outpost there on d5 that you could use. You know, I wouldn't say anyone's especially better or worse in that situation, but it could cause a little bit of imbalance, correct? So yeah, bishop takes e5, fe8, that's rook e8 I'm guessing. Bishop takes f6, rook e8. Oh, but after knight xf6 I guess white can't defend the pawn. Yeah, so they had the double knight, so they could have taken back and kept the pressure. And if you push, they could jump out of the way and triple attack it, and again your king is still stuck behind it, so the pawn would eventually have to fall simply because you need to take a move to defend your king. You won't have enough defenders on it, so that's kind of unavoidable. Hang on, I want to see if the other games have come up yet. No! Oh my word, guys, I'm so sorry. Those other two games I mentioned are only starting in 1 hour. They're starting 11 o'clock my side, not 10 o'clock. My mistake. I got a little bit too excited with the clock. So we're only going to be chilling with Omertil and TheVacuousRom for a while. Just taking it easy. Oof, I'm stretching my legs a bit as well. Just get comfortable. I'm not liking how white hasn't castled yet. I mean, I just showed the line and maybe it's not the line they want to play, but I mean, they can't really defend their e4 pawn any other way. Well, okay, they can, but I don't think they're going to do it. You can play knight fd2 and just defend the pawn that way, but I mean, then your rook is less active, your knight is less active, your bishop is completely blind, and all you've done is you've defended the pawn for a little bit. Yeah, that's very slow. Knight bd2, f3, and then you can take on c4 with your knight or your bishop, I guess. But that's not nice at all. I was thinking maybe you could, like, what if you sack the rook? You know, rook x d7. If they don't take, they take back with like the bishop, right? And you can take the c4 pawn and you can play b4 and protect your c pawn. So you would have sacked the exchange for just one pawn, but it would be a 3v1 at 3v2 advantage on the queen side. It's not worth it. Don't do it. But it's something to just kind of keep in your head. I see something fun. After knight xc5, what if I just jump in my knight d5, threatening a fork of the rooks, or taking out your extra knight and then defending with my bishop. So you take here, I jump my knight in here, threatening this fork, also threatening the knight. If you take, I take back with my rook, with my bishop, what am I saying, and my pawn is defended. If you don't take back, if you try and, you know, like take my pawn, what then? Do I just lose a pawn? Oh no, I guess so, because they're defending each other. Oh no, sorry, what am I saying? That was the whole point about forking your rooks. So you can take here, fair enough, but then I get a rook fork. And also both your rooks aren't defended, so you would have to move your light square bishop. I would take the rook in the corner, means your rook would become inactive. Oh, you can't move here either. Actually, I really like that. If black takes here, I think white should play up. Knight d5. Looks very nice. If they trade, you just take back with your bishop, no worries. They can play bishop e6, in which case you don't have to trade. You could just castle. And if they take, you can take. And then you would have a passer you'd have to protect. They can push e4, kissing your knight away. But you could jump it around. You could make a plan. Yeah, I quite like that. I mean, I don't think that's objectively the best line maybe, but after here, threatening that, they probably take... What if you just immediately take back with your bishop, with your pawn? Then if they push, you don't even have to do anything funny. You can just kind of jump your knight in this way. Or here even, and off your castle, attack it again. Pawn. Alright, well here they go. Black did take on c5, which is kind of natural to be expected. So I say... Okay, what does black say? They might have been wrong to play e4 rather than e3, because e4 becomes a target in many lines. It does become a target. I think I meet knight b5 with rook e7. Okay, knight b5 with rook e7, because knight d5, this is knight b5 by the way, same threat, but I suggested knight d5, which also puts tension between these knights. And then if you take, I mean, you can take this way as well, take this way as well, but this knight would also be in problems. Problemo. Take here. Down, eh? I mean, I still like it. I like the imbalance. But a passed pawn that's isolated is difficult to keep safe with fewer and fewer pieces, especially with this uncastled king in the back. Oh. Alright, there's also a move here. You can defend the pawn twice and also hit f7. Something that black and white might want to calculate for just a few seconds. Knight d4 is not a move. Takes and e4. Let's open the e-file, baby. Knight, you probably need knight d5. Takes and e4. Let's open that e-file. Yeah. Black is really excited to get down this e-file, I see. Yeah. And now meet knight d5 with b7 pending. Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's a nice move. That's a nice move indeed. It doesn't quite work, obviously, because you can take with check and then take again. But eventually this pawn is still kind of hanging, right? Well, if I go here and you go here... Okay, white does go for it. So defends the pawn proactively as well. Attacks f7. I wonder if they would sack the two minors for the rook and pawn. If you do, then you play f3. Black has an isolated e-pawn. You've got two rooks and you've already got control of the d-file. Also, this obviously walks into a check, so I guess this would be the move. Oh, that is some intensely fun imbalances. So if black defends it and you take and you take and you take and take, all of this gets traded off. The king is here. This is isolated. You protect your e4 pawn with f3. You don't have to castle anymore. You can just move your king up. I actually quite like that for white, to be honest. It's normally not good to sack two minors for a rook and a pawn, but I quite like the look of the setup there. Black having this isolated pawn that's still in front of their dark square bishop. You still having both of your bishops as well, already having control of the d-file. Interesting stuff. I don't know if black saw this coming, they're going to have to see. I will say, white has done as much as they could so far not to castle. The only other thing they can start doing is to start pushing the 8 pawn, because this king has just been living on e1 since the game started. Yeah. Yeah, this also rules out bishop e6. Because you can take it with the knight, for instance, you'd have to take back with the pawn. We'll take with the bishop, you have to take back with the pawn. Yeah, that is a strong move. What can you do? What black could do now is they could put their knight back here as well. Oh, sorry, the knight is protecting the square, so bishop e6 is okay, because if you take, they can take, so you'd have enough defenders. So this is still equal. Bishop e6, developing, connecting your rooks, and stopping white's threat. There's no other follow-up right now, is there? Not that I can see. Then it would be a case of what happens over here. Black says, I think knight e6. Knight e6. So not putting the bishop there, putting the knight there would frustrate everything. Okay. Okay. I definitely would have done this way. Something different. Yeah. Jay, the previous miniature game was played very fast. I mean, this is down to different players. The LuzhinAcademy person, I have seen them play before. They are very strong. And they played a little bit slower than Astronominoff, but Astronominoff also just is one of those players that plays a bit faster. I made a big deal, I think about a week ago or something, that I was covering Enlance's game. He's one of the other players in the league who also just plays incredibly fast, even in classical. So some people just prefer to play a little bit faster, but it's true. You don't want to run into things. Okay, hang on, black is playing exactly the move I said. I like bishop e6 for them more. And now obviously white can decide if they want to have the bishop pair by taking with the knight. But I think this creates, you know, fair equality. And there's still a game to be played here, you know. Oh, I've got a yawn. Ooh, my bad. But the previous miniature was really quick. 45 minutes for a 45-45 game. While quite picturesque, is a little bit surprising. You don't expect it to go that quickly normally. It's a little bit unexpected. Oh, this lighting setup is really not the best. Apologies for anyone who's actually looking at the screen when the camera, because this halo situation. Yeah, it's a good thing you're not standing here, because I think actually I might be going slightly bald back here, so maybe there's a bit of a shine on the back of my head. Alright, white does say thank you very much, I will take the bishop pair. Nothing wrong with that. I still like f3 for white, to be honest. Keeping the light square bishop out on this side, keeping the pawn safe. That also gives you the chance to play knight e5 anyway. And obviously black here can play knight e4, which I think they've been thinking about. What to do? Omertil looked into something interesting here, so we can quickly look at that while... Actually, how do I do this? Let's see. I think Transo did this earlier. So, the line goes knight e5, knight x, bx, bx, knight e5, bx, bx, X, BX, Rook X, Castle B5. Trying to trade these 2 pawns. That was the point. Yeah. Try and gain that majority on the king side. Yeah, but it continues knight X, knight X, knight C6 with that bloody fork. Because there's a fork back here, yeah. So this was the point they saw where their plan doesn't work out so well anymore. Tough stuff. Alright, it is going to be Rook X. Not much to say about that. And from here on out, we've got 1 pair of knights and bishops on the board still. 2 pawns off for both sides, asymmetrical pawn structure. And all the rooks with white still uncastled on move 15. Yeah, a few short moves, the board is really cleared up, eh? So from here, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That took off 1 pair of pawns, bishops and knights. Now, white gets a free move here, right? They can basically jump because black can't let them. They have to move the rooks, and after they move the rooks they can still play f3, which I still think is a great, yeah, f3, great response. Their dark square bishop has got all the squares to move around. Black's dark square bishop unfortunately staring at their own pawn, so in fact they might want to start thinking about jumping there. How do I get here? Oh, it's one of those. You have to like a million knight jumps to eventually get there because you have to go 2 across. Frustrating stuff. And here's an easy way to do it, I guess, back here and then go up to the other side first. And you can put it through here. Then you have to go back. So there. You can do this. There's a lot of like silly patterns you can get with knights. For black, unfortunately you can't get on this diagonal first, right? So black and try, they can go back to get here. That's not gonna work. If you go back and white plays here, they're hitting the pawn and this. You might have to go here. And then they can come in here. Oh no, that square is covered then. So here, threatening to play this and also to bring the other rook over. Tricky stuff. Bishop e6 surprised you. Jay, are you surprised because it trades off a lot of stuff? Because I think that it's one of the most kind of natural moves in that position. Black needed to finish development. Black needed to stop the pressure on the f-pawn. And I think personally for white it was a great chance to trade off 2 minors for a rook and a piece. It looked like it would have actually been a pretty good trade actually. Ah, okay, you thought it was a doubled pawn situation. I didn't finish your messages, sorry. Yeah, don't worry, we all do that. This is also something that you see when you play against stronger opponents. You'll sometimes be surprised by how good their board observation is, where they just seem to remember everything on the board so well. I played against French IM. He's also a YouTuber. When I say also, I mean he's an actual YouTuber. That's his job. That's how he supports himself. I played him in Kyoto last month, end of last year, in the last round of a open federated tournament. It was really fun. I did a bunch of recap videos. It's on the channel. And playing against him, he was just so obviously, like, you know, none of his moves were specifically bad. He was never like strongly losing. But even more than that, he just seemed to have such a clear vision of all the squares on the board. We were focusing a lot on the queen side, and I remember at one point he made a move and I went, oh, so... I mean, it's obviously a really good move, but also he had clearly taken time to look across and make sure what's happening on the other side of the board where nothing was happening at that time. And he found that there's a way that he can exploit the situation that I didn't see. So yeah, board positioning and just kind of visualization of all of that, really good. For white here, I really like bishop e3, getting into the diagonal behind the pawns. This is what I would have played. The end. There are other moves, but I think this is clearly the best. I do look at knight d4, d5 as well. Obviously you're threatening that fork. Oh, okay, they do go for it, and after black probably just kind of, you know, like moves their rook and says, okay, well now what? They can take, but I think if they take, white maybe just takes with their rook. Because in the long run, the point is this dark square bishop is slightly worse than this dark square bishop because of the e5 pawn. So if everything else gets traded off, I feel like white is just slightly better all the time. I think you take with the rook here. If you take with the pawn, you open up the bishop at the right time with this push. So if you take with the pawn, then yeah, you hit this rook, but at some point they can push and win a pawn here, and then maybe they've got a 2-on-1. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, this is not, I don't think black is losing, but I think white is just a tiny bit better the whole time now. I don't know, I can see white just never cancelling, right? Easy for them just to play king e2. I always feel like they should just castle just to kind of throw it in my face. Castle now for like no reason and then walk the king back up. Just kind of for the mess of it. Oh yeah. Solid game, so solid. It's interesting because there was so much tension here, right? But just in a few moves, chop, everything gets off. I would have taken that e5 pawn in a second, and I probably would have ended up in a little bit of problems, but I also would have castled way earlier than this, so... Here. Yeah. You didn't have to take, though. You could have actually just kind of left it, played here, they play their knight up. What? You play your bishop up attacking it. Eventually you can attack it this way as well. If they come trying to defend it, you can put your knight over so that they can't cover it up anymore. I think that was a move also. You didn't have to, I don't know, white didn't have to take the second knight. But anyway, and now they traded. And now from black's perspective, I guess they just have to get this rook out and be active. They can't put it here, there's no point to put it here. There's also no point to put it here, to be honest. It's not really a pawn that can be attacked in a way that matters. You can push, so rook c8 I think is kind of just the move. As I already said earlier, you can't unfortunately get your bishop on this diagonal faster than white can, because just one move for them it's done. If you really wanted to oppose bishops, obviously you can play h5, move your king up, and then put your bishop on h6 to oppose this diagonal. White wouldn't have to trade. They could kind of just drop their bishop back and put the other rook out, but I actually think white would just, you know, just put their bishop in front of their king, because they just need to get the other rook out. Yeah, so for black, I think absolutely getting here, but also, oh man, yeah, also I think you need to play your bishop out somehow. Maybe f6 so you can get your king in here, because you can always defend with your rook. There will only be one rook on the side here because you've got another one on the c file. Yeah, so I think here, and here is kind of what I want to see from black. At least that's what I'm seeing from black here. If you do this, you can never defend this pawn again. You can isolate the e-pawns, but that doesn't really help you, so in that case maybe even just pushing, so you take more of the black squares away from white's dark square bishop. So you have to have dark squared pawns, you know, make them Make them take away your opponent's bishop space, maybe. Where to go? Omertil. It sounded like you had so many dreams for this game, but now you've traded off so much of the pieces. I'm still, yeah, vacuous taking the second knight. I don't know, was that really necessary? Oops, sorry. I think we've gone a little bit too far with that halo lighting. Okay, interesting. Not the move I expected. Oh, and my bedding is falling off. I'm using my futon covers. Nice and warm. So cozy. Very informal. If you're formal on the stream, guys, you're doing it wrong today. No jeans allowed. It's formal. Okay. Rook c6. I guess the point is that she's going to play rook c8 after this. You could have taken... Why though? You could have played rook c8 anyway, taking the file. Why leave your other rook in the corner and play the front one over first? It does all the same things, except now you still have one rook sitting in the back. Is there any special reason why black didn't just play rook c8 here? I don't see any differences. This can't be attacked, and it's not doing the most, but it's at least out in the game. This guy isn't even like... These two rooks are forgotten. They've been left off. Poor guys didn't catch the bus to work today, they're gone. Rook c6. Yeah, tricky. You can go here and you can then defend it. Alternatively, you have to run your king over. Here, check. This could get dangerous. All of this was possible with rook c8 though. I'm still not clear why he didn't just play rook c8. Do you want to put this rook somewhere else? I guess not. Do you want to do like this? Like defending it backwards to force a trade? Probably not, right? You want to go in here, put pressure down the c-file. And then if black ever white steps their king up by accident, you can try and hit them with one of these, which would x-ray the c square, which is what they would then be defending if we were still doing that. Yeah, I like the pressure, but I don't understand the rook choice. Can anyone explain the rook choice to me? That did not make any sense to me. I got nothing. Tronzo, where you at? Do you like white or black? I know you're loitering in the background there. Tell me which one you prefer. King e2. Here, here, over. I think this is pretty good for black, to be honest. If you check here, this pawn is hanging and this one. Well, sorry, this one's not hanging. What am I talking about? So the king has to go back, incredibly inactive. What happens after you check? They come back. Then you put your other rook over. Now you're threatening the bishop as well, so they take, you take, same check again. They have to run back to keep safe. In that case you have time maybe to do this, to come check here, can't move the bishop because they dropped the b-pawn. Oh, okay. White needs to find something that I don't see, because actually I think black might be doing better than... I'm guessing they're still fine, right? So there's got to be some way, but maybe king e2 was just not right. Maybe they had to castle. And then after the rook comes here, you can do this. No, you don't want to do this because the bishop's stuck. Oh my goodness. Never moving any dark way bishop. Yeah, d5, take. Yeah, here they go. Now the rook's out. I do want to keep on stressing that they could have moved the backwards rook first. This is kind of the simple stuff that I don't think it matters so much, but I feel like it kind of matters in terms of your mindset. At least for me, every move should always be the best version of the move you could have made. You know, to the extent that you can, obviously. You're going to end up sacking a piece by accident and gambiting something at some point. But, you know, like play good principled chess. Move the piece that can be improved over the one that's already at least active. Absolute moot point though, obviously. It's looking the same. But yeah. No, the rook choice mattered 0. But for me it's kind of like it's like a principle thing. Move the piece that's sitting in the corner versus the one that's already developed. It was staring at a pawn. It was absolutely, and they were going to move both onto the c-file anyway. Mojitos in the garden. Oh, cool. Martin, enjoy, man. Enjoy that good southern hemisphere weather as well. I hope it's a good time after your wimpy brunch earlier today. Thanks for coming past the stream. Appreciate it and appreciate you. Say hi to the wife for me. Wait, actually, now I think... Oh, I did something by accident. Now I think this might actually be a little bit tricky for white. I don't know. I think white might actually just be doing worse here. Here. Because this is hanging. And then if you check here, you have to take this way. Okay. Bishop out, absolutely necessary. And now after the check, you can put a rook there and it's still okay. This is covered. You can bring your other rook over. You can trade everything off and be slightly better again. Yeah, for a few moments there though, I thought that white's continuations were going to be terrible, but it's all because of that bishop sitting on c1. So as soon as they move the bishop off, everything looks better. Now there's not nearly as many problems. Estercon, thanks for stopping by. Yeah, of course, man. That was a really nice game. I really appreciated seeing it. I was sad to see it end in a draw because it looked like a really fun king and pawn endgame. But with those, I mean, opposite bishops, you know, I know that I've got a drawish situation, but I was hoping that there would be a way to kind of make some play with that one passer. But it was a good game, well done. We're glad we caught the end of it. I looked through the beginning of it at the start of the stream. And then we basically followed you since you had about 5 minutes left on the clock. So you can go have a look at the history of the stream afterwards. I'll send you a link after the game as well. Alright, and in comes black with the check. Easy stuff. You can't block with the bishop because then you've got massive problems down the diagonal. Has to be a block with the rook. And if you take, I'm going to take with my king to avoid you. You take with the bishop, again, bishop problems here, which attacks the pawn as well. So take, you have to take with the king, and that also allows you to put the other rook on c1, trade that off. We will have to see if someone can find something. Black mentioned that they were trying to find a way to make a win here, but it's not looking that easy. It's looking rather tricky. Actually, I think I might take 1 second to get myself just a tiny bit of tea, if you guys can give me 2 seconds. My hot cocoa is finished and my throat is a little bit dry. So we'll wait for black to figure out that they're going to take the pawn. Ach, take the rook. Yeah, and they want to take before white plays rook t1, because then they can retake with the rook and then there's nothing. Not that there's much if they take with the rook, but I think it's a bit better. Although I guess here if you want to try, it doesn't really work. It doesn't make too much of a difference. Yeah, they need to get that other bishop out. Or they need to break and make something happen here. But this is looking difficult to force a win out of. You need some of that Magnus's old school squeezing a win out of nothing plays to make something happen here. By the way, isn't he just a bit of a douche nowadays? I'm so disappointed in all the drama and all the kind of like negative attitude stuff that I see. Not to say all the other parties involved are great, but yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed. I feel like he's, having someone who's that high up and that strong, but then also kind of has an attitude of like, it doesn't matter, do what I want, don't care. I feel it kind of like ruins the situation a little bit for the people who are still there, caring a lot. A little bit, yeah. Anyway, that's it. That's all I've got. I just feel a bit not so fun about it. F5. Black didn't take. Threatening to push the bishop around. I don't think you're threatening to take here. If you are, what are you doing? Are you going to go attack the pawn? Defend it? Attack it again? Maybe. Yeah, actually that might be it actually. You take, they take back. You threaten it this way. There's only one way to defend it. You can't block here. So you move up and then you hit the king again. And then you win the middle pawn. Of course, that leaves your king massively open. Alright, white doubles up. Nice and safe. Time to see what black wanted to do with this. Pushing. It's almost never correct to push, right? If you undo the tension, a lot of the time you just settle the position in a way that you can't do much more with. If you push here, the break ends up being white's decision because you need to move this pawn all the way down. So I think take, and then you try this. They check. You can take, they check again, you come back. Ah, no. If you take and you move your rook, and they check, they have to block with the bishop at once or twice, and then this is weak. Okay, interesting. Not sure what to make of that. Check. Here, here, I guess. Defending. Okay, that didn't happen. Just opposing right away. And yes, I know, sorry, the rook was pinned, you couldn't check. Alright, taking, so all the rooks off the board, goodbye forever. Okay, but this just solidifies the point from the start again. Black's got the wrong kind of bishop for this middle pawn situation. White pawn with white bishop covers all of these squares, really nice. Whereas black bishop and pawn cover the same squares. Not nearly as effective, right? Not nearly as effective. I was really keen to get me some tea, but I think maybe I'll wait until 11. Maybe this game has come to a conclusion. Before anything else starts, we can decide if we continue or take a break. Name goes in here. I like this. I like this, Nick. Omertil's the one that's trying to push for a win still if they could, but hard to do that. The problem is they can't. Taking basically just never, I think, gives them anything. So they have to just run their king up and hope that at some point white decides, screw it, let's take. Let's see what happens. King takes here. There's 3v3, but the pawns are a little bit split. I don't think it really matters that much though. This is gonna come down to the middle pawn, so this is it. This is the only place where there's anything really happening, so. If I was black, I would just be running my king up. Just run. Run. Unfortunately, white, as I said, white is covering all of these squares, so black can only get in here or here down these files. The white's control of position is really strong, whereas white can get in anywhere here basically, because the pawns don't cover anything else. The middle pawn doesn't cover anything else. If you take these pawns here, very quick check on the TV to make sure no one else has accidentally started the game. Nope. Sideshow Bob, BarbarAusBielefeld, Pe-lle and Racheschach are still starting in about 12 minutes from now. Alright, black came up with h5 first. Same dark square holes around the side of the board, but a slightly different thinking, I guess. Interesting times. Yeah, going with that king. Black can eventually get their bishop across maybe, but white's got some potential access here. You gotta be careful. Just in time. You gotta get up there. Gotta get up there. What's there to think about, guys? You gotta get up there. Black's really trying to see if they can make something happen on the king side, aren't they? Trying hard. I think anything they want to do though, they have to get their king into the middle here though. They're gonna give too much space to white if they don't get their king around here. Yeah, okay, yeah. And for the white side, just... Actually, they can do this. Forcing this king to go another way around. Oh, this is flippin' genius. Or is it? The basic point being, they're covering these squares. So then they start running their king up this way. Here, they're also covering the diagonal, right? And then you start moving your king across. That's not good. No, now they get in. You needed to put your bishop there first. You need to cover the diagonal. That's unfortunate. Alright, now I'm not so sure if there's anything here anymore. Okay, here comes the check. And dark Black king defending. If I do this, you have to go here. And if I do this, you lose your dark square bishop. Ooh. Okay, so white just has to be careful. They can't be doing too many pawn moves now because they might end up losing their dark square bishop. You can't go this way, right? You can't go here. You can only go back here to defend your bishop. They'll probably move it though, right? I can't imagine that they're not going to move their dark square bishop after they put it there. I would probably put it here. Unless you want to play a5. Or a4, sorry. But it's still the same problem. Here, 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 here. Oh, okay, never mind, because you can go here. Yeah, slightly different. Oh, that's actually pretty good. Maybe white's the one that can push for something here. If black ends up playing this line, obviously. Here. And because this is dark squares, they have access to the back here, so they might be able to come around. So no, they can't come around really. Never mind. All a draw. Draw agreed. Chess was always a draw from the start. Always a draw from the start. Celebration. TheVacuousRom looking for something else. Obviously both players want to win. Obviously neither one wants to just simply agree a draw. They do play h4, a4, trying to stop b5, which is dangerous. I thought there was something there for white, but there isn't. Here, take, 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 you put your king over. It doesn't matter if you can come in, because you have to run all the way around, and black can stop you probably. All the way around, black can probably stop you. Here, here. You just can't get any further. I expect. Although, yeah, it might come down in those cases to the fact that this e5 pawn can be attacked by a light square bishop. By the white dark square bishop. Tricky, tricky, tricky. The one thing I really like about the in-games, well, it's also the part that makes them kind of tough, obviously, is that it sometimes comes down to two very similar looking moves. Classic examples, was it king d7 or king d6? One of them wins, one of them loses, or one of them draws, one of them loses. Those games are tough when they finish, especially if you're on the losing end of what seemed to be an absolutely drawn, identical position. If I was black, I would maybe start off with something simple even. Just b6, pushing that dark square bishop. Not because it does anything, but kind of because there's nothing that's actually really happening here. And then take, take, take. White can move, and everyone's going back and forth. You really gotta hope that your opponent is gonna make a mistake here, because as long as both kings are sitting on this side of the board, probably neither one of them can actually make any progress. And the only thing that's really different here is that white can come and attack this dark square bishop. But it doesn't matter if they can't also get their king close to the pawn, or if the other dark square bishop is kind of looking away and can't defend it. White's got all the minor advantages, but they don't count up to a win. At least not without black making some mistake. Easy move, bishop f6. Potentially get some access down this side of the board, still defending the pawn, also having some more access down the other side, just in case white tries to get fancy. I don't see white losing this. I don't see how. I think black's the only one that's in any danger of losing right now. Even though they were hoping for a win. I don't think there's any way. It all, again, it comes down to this. The other point is that based on the king's position, right? So white's on the 4th rank. Black's on the 6th rank. White needs to get just one more rank up. And then they're within reach of hitting the e5 pawn. Black needs to make 2 rank moves, and they can't get to the back pawns yet. The backward pawn for black are these 3, right? 7th rank, 5th rank, 6th rank. For white, after they move this one, it's 3rd rank and 2nd rank. So black's actual kind of weak points they can target off way further in. So it's looking pretty tough. If I was white, okay, that's not what I would have done. I think I actually would have just played b4. Because I think if your bishop here, then again you're covering all these squares. You're pushing the white king back, and then you can come in here. And then you can double attack the pawn here. Not to say that that would have happened, but I could see that being a potential way to make some progress. Yeah, I would have gone here, and if they attacked my bishop, I would have put it over there for a bit. Not like it can get hit. And then basically black has to play b5. Because if they don't, if white plays b5, white would be winning. Check. King has to move. Even if it moves that way, it's still bad. Basically, white just wants access here. King d5 is what white would be looking for. Can they get it? Quick check on the TV. Oops, sorry, that's not the TV. My bad. Alright, okay. And black decides, no more wasting time, b5. Had to play it, I think. Okay, sometimes there's a move here where instead of taking the pawn, you move back first. But it doesn't really help because you just lose. You're going to have to move back anyway, but only if they take do you gain anything. So if you go here, black doesn't have to take. They can again just wiggle their bishop in circles. They can just go back and forth the whole game. This was the last trick I saw where if white got b5 it looked like they could win. No more tricks left as far as I can see. Take back with the pawn, obviously. There's nothing to think about, you have to. You can't give white a passer. Alright, and white has to run backwards, no forward moves. And the move to d3, probably the best square. Just, getting in touch with the e4 square if they, for any reason, need to, for instance, take with the king instead of taking with the pawn. Which could be another way they can try and make progress. And they can go here. If you take, they can take back this way. Nope, this way, I guess. Yeah, as soon as they can make contact with this e-pawn, things are looking up for white, but they really wanted to do it from d5 and not from e4, because unfortunately then the black king can still sit on e6 and defend the pawn. Black really wants to try and make a plan here, eh? Okay, decide to move the bishop the other direction. I mean, if I'm... Sorry. Oh, my flippin' hell, my neck is getting stiff. If I'm white, I'm gonna do this with the point of coming in here behind the pawn. because it looks like you're trying to get active with your dark square bishop, right? But there isn't really much activity here that matters. Not that I can see anyway. So I would try to come back here and take some aggressive action against your dark square pawn. Okay, never mind, you can do it from the front. It feels like it's slightly more fun doing it from the back, I guess. Okay, you can also push the pawns here, in which case you just lock up the game. That's basically it. As soon as b4 is on the board, you'll cut this all covered. Black's king can't come in anymore, as long as you keep the pawn alive. Which means you would have to just move your dark square bishop back and forth on that diagonal, or you have to put your king close to it. Take. Push. Take. Run the king. This is tricky to know if there's any potential way that that's useful, but black's got the check down this diagonal, so probably it's not that big a deal. What if you don't do that? What if you just push immediately? Take. This might be a way to go. Yeah, black sees the same. After b4, no one can make progress. But I actually wonder if white's break here on the g file, either directly, because you double up the pawns. Oh, although I see here take here, and then you push past, and then black actually has a protected passer. That could be dangerous. Yeah. Alright, looks like black's back in chat. Spent an hour with a cat in my lap, I had only the mouse hand. Okay, so black had some good time playing with their cat in their lap apparently. Anyway, draw. Yeah, it does look like a draw. My next moves are bishop b6 and bishop d4. Oh, okay, so black just wants to put the bishop on the front. Probably not immediately, right? Because that loses. That loses a pawn, because take. And then actually I think white might be winning. Yeah, in that case I think white would win, because there would be X amount of moves available before you have to move your king, because they'd be opposites. Whichever way you go, white goes the other way, infiltrates. So he probably moves to put it there when the dark square bishops and the king aren't all in contact. So otherwise that's a bit dangerous. I do see a fun move here. Black can come in here, and then if b4 doesn't happen, they can play b3. Or b4 themselves, what am I saying? But obviously that hangs that pawn right now, so it doesn't work. Alright, and black says they are willing to trade dark square bishops. Any takers on this game being anything but a draw at this point? 5 minutes in, it looks like I think we might have some other games on the board. Let's reset and see. Yep, we've got one more. Alright, I think I am going to take a break after this other game finishes, but let's just see how these games opened up. So Pe-lle and Racheschach, which I find very difficult to read. Let's have a look. It's a d4 game. I like d4. Knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e4, d6. Alright, so this is a pretty standard King's Indian with f3. Okay, a slightly less standard King's Indian. There's the castle, knight e2. So in this case I think often the knight goes here, but it might go here after you play g4 actually, and you end up like pushing all your pawns. Is this the same-ish situation? The same-ish King's Indian, I think? I could be wrong, but I think so. And it's one of those where you can throw your kingside pawns. It's quite fun. Yeah, and one of the other things that f3 does for which is really nice, it covers this g4 square, which means the knight can't jump hitting your dark square bishop. If you put it on e3, now you can put your queen behind it. You can make a nice battery, you can castle. queenside, and you can, you know, throw pawns. This can be really fun. This made classical TV. Nice. That's awesome. This is a really great game. All these games are really good. Alright, C6. Very, very nice. Very, very nice indeed. E4. Oh, nice. Wait, now I'm competing with classical TV. That's nice. Let's see if the other game also started that's supposed to go. Not yet. So Sideshow Bob and BarbarAusBielefeld still have to go. And in this case, we've had them trading off. King over. Still sitting on this move. Black still hasn't. White still hasn't decided what to do. But almost certainly it's a draw. So we're gonna go across here a little bit instead. Okay, in this case I was expecting Queen D2 to set up that battery. I think it's more standard. Fair enough, trying to stop the queenside push. A4, A5 on the board, Queen D2, here we go. Yeah, pretty good still. Yeah, I used to play the same-ish. I thought it was really fun. There's also the H3 Magan something something, I forgot what the name is. Actually, let's just double check what the name is quickly. Here. Is it here? It's not here. It's not E4. It's here, is it? Yeah. Magogonov. Magogonov variation? That's probably butchering the name like no one should ever be butchered now that we're out of World Wars. That is terrible. Okay, looking good though. Looking nice. I like the general setup here. Pretty good. For black has to find a way to stop this attack at the right moment and open up the middle of the board versus all these. But you have to find the right way to do it. There are definitely good ways to do it though. Obviously you've got this queen move over here putting some pressure as well at the right moment. Either of these moves might be good just to press. I do not recommend d5 though. This would be taken, press past, and then just having a bit more space. Very tricky. Man, pretty cool to be on classical TV. Unfortunately, there's not much to see from that happening. There's just people coming past the game. What to do? Oh, okay, we're off classical TV. Everyone's gone. Unfortunate. It was fun for a while. It was fun while it lasted. Yo, my neck is incredibly stiff. Let's do a little hoodie action for a while. Okay, over to the other game quickly. Whoops, sorry. Refresh. Still going. King over. King C2. King C2. So I'm guessing that they want to walk over here, putting pressure on this pawn and on this pawn at the same time. Yeah, you can't go to d4 while they've got their own bishop there, black. But you don't have to. You can just leave your bishop over here defending. Actually, you can put your bishop here defending the e-pawn and then just move your king sideways. Then you can even put your bishop here and then you can have all of these squares covered very easily. There's kind of nothing to it then. I mean, this is very much a draw. I don't feel like there's any big way to play for a win here. But, fair enough. A lot of the points you get in chess don't come because you stop as soon as the game's a draw. Sometimes it's all about playing and keeping the tension and hoping your opponent is the one that slips up. Speaking of slipping up, is there any way for black to go a mess? I don't think. It's a little bit early. I also don't think we're going to immediately trade here. This trade happens at the right moment, if I remember my kind of general classes correctly. So you kind of push up. If I remember correctly, h5 is a move I absolutely hated in this position. So you play g4 first before you play h4, so they can't just play h5. If you take and take, yeah, then this square is also weak. g4, knight g3. Actually, there's a really nice game, which I don't remember anymore, where I think white put their rooks on gh1, and then they sacked their knight on f5, opened up the g file, and just crushed. But that was some seriously high level play. I don't remember exactly how that happened. That was really good though. That was a great game to study. Yeah, there's d4. I'm loving it. I think this is all still kind of theory. I'm not sure if this whole like a6, a4, a5 thing was theory as such, but probably, at least to a degree. Like, I don't think this is especially strange, but maybe the move order has gone off kind of main theory lines. I don't know if anyone else in the stream has been playing this themselves, but if you have, I would love to hear it. Let's just see if that sideshow Bob game has come past. It has not, and also omertil has not moved. They are stuck. Bishop b6, bishop b6 here, king b3 threatening king b4, and I can't protect it. Well, that's the point, you don't. You just put your bishop back protecting your other pawn, and you just move your king over. White can't break through. Your bishop covers their bishop, your king covers their king. That's all you need to do. There is nothing else here. Bishop d4 protects okay. Bishop d4? Why are you so obsessed with playing bishop d4? If you take here, take, king up here. Then what do you take here, I guess? Take, because if they take, you start running your king forward. Yeah. Is this an idea for black? I mean, obviously white doesn't have to take. Take. Go here, you can go in, you go up. Take. Then maybe it becomes a zugzwang game. Whoever doesn't have a move can't protect their pawn. Yo, guys. Playing it to the last bit sometimes becomes really tricky. Very dangerous. Okay, moved up a little bit here again. g4, e5, so white indeed has to face some activity from black in the middle. And in this position, in these games where you're going for the kingside attack, you're not trying to open up the center, so you are playing d5 here just to close up. I remember getting absolutely crushed by a young kid, like 12, and it was in the same-ish King's Indian. I was white. This was last year, 2 years ago. It's my first federated tournament in Japan, and oh man, I was not enjoying that game. He just kept kind of like spinning in his chair, you know, acting all bored, kind of showing how slow he thought I was playing, and he still crushed me. But anyway, after the game, I remember he said, my coach told me there's two kind of players, people who play d5 and people who don't. I was like, okay, that's great. I get the point though, obviously. If you play d5, you close up the center, and if you don't, then you accept an open center, and the game is different. So I don't know if there's two specific types of players. I mean, I could play both, and nowadays I kind of do, but yeah, I still remember that comment. Anyway, so white plays d5, closes up the center. Black can take, and they'll take back with the c-pawn. Black can not take, they can push past, and white will be super happy because they can probably castle. There's also versions of this where white just puts their king on f2. Actually, they don't even castle with it. They just kind of put it here where it can't really get hit by anything, because the queen side sometimes opens up and then there's a bit of activity down that side. So yeah, there's versions of this where you just, you just put the pieces up. And then it's tricky to know how to break through sometimes. Here. Yeah. The sandwich has some very fun ideas, but like with all openings, there are ways to play against it. So if you catch someone off guard, you could crush them absolutely on the king side. But if you don't know exactly what you're doing, it can actually become quite difficult. So there's, for instance, there's versions where like you put the bishop out on the g file to pin the knight, and then you push the other pawn up so that they have to retake with their pawn. Or if they don't, then you push their bishop into the corner, and then eventually you just kind of squash black back against the backside of the board because they didn't take, so you've got pawns all around here pushing all their pieces back. That's some serious stuff. Alright, what's about here? Alright, queen back bishop. Oh, okay, and white says no. If you're coming forward, I'm not going to go back with my king to b3. Yeah, fair enough. Bishop d4 did not work, so once he plays h3 I can dream of getting my king there. Okay. King d3. Alright, so black holding out hope, white holding out hope, both still wanting to play for more. I mean, I see something interesting here for black. If you go here and white isn't careful, then you can push your pawn after that. They have to move their bishop back somewhere. And then you can play here, hitting their pawn. And after they push their pawn past, what do you do then? Cry about it. Then you move your king in. Then you're the one on the 4th rank versus the 6th rank. You can't hit their pawn though. But then you have potential ways through here. Okay, hello. So, bishop g1 forcing h3, I guess, because any other move would lose the pawn eventually. Here you could attack it again. Yeah, there h3, nothing to think about. How to do? White offers draw. Alright. White just offered, they're not seeing it anymore, and black declined. Although black moved so fast, I don't even know if they saw the draw on the board. I mean, they can still offer. This is something that's different about our draw offers here as well. In OTB, obviously, when you offer a draw, you have to make your own move, press the clock, I offer a draw, I offer you a draw, or whatever, make a sign. But you have to do the draw offer in your own move. You can't watch the other players struggle to find a move and then be like, hey, do you want to draw? You have to do it on your turn. But here online, you can kind of just do it whenever. I don't know what the big difference is though. Like, I think there is a difference, but if you offer it at the wrong time, they can just ignore you anyway, so. Ah, okay. Now I get him to play b4. So black says, now I get him to play b4, and his king has no way in. Okay, but white already offered the draw. Why does it help if his king doesn't have any way in? Do you still think you have a way in? I wonder if black's point is that he wants to... So here, then they move their bishop somewhere. And then they like slowly move their king across. I'm very unsure what the point for black is, how they think they're going to make something happen here. Are they going to keep it on this diagonal back in? Because their king can't move unless the e5 pawn is defended, so how would they make some plan here? pop over again. Oh, the third game has started as well. Alright, let's go down and see what the third game is quickly. Sideshow Bob and BarbarAusBielefeld. G3, D5. Okay, interesting. Whoa, C5. Okay. Black's not holding back. Knight C6, D4. D4 necessary. You need to make sure black doesn't start taking over the center completely. Knight C6, E6. Alright, I mean this is just transposing, right? This is now transposing into... I mean, this is basically my Catalan setup that I've been playing forever in the last few months. And this move is what? Like a semi-Tarrasch? Reverse Grunfeld. Reverse Grunfeld. It stays the reverse Grunfeld? I mean, if you say so. I'm not gonna say anything, but I don't know if that's true. There's c4, and you do take, so this would be kind of like an open Catalan, and then you go with knight e5. I don't know if that's the greatest move though. Obviously knight e5 is supposed to take the pawn back. If they take here, your knight has to jump somewhere. If you jump here, I guess I take it. You've got these isolated pawns. Not so sure. Also in my recent tournament, I had a similar position where I played e5 too quickly. And they had played knight bd7. And I had to kind of like make up the moves on the spot because I realized I had messed up. After they took, I took, they decided not to trade, and then I had to like jump my knight around to avoid trading, and I ended up like jumping it into d6. I actually ended up losing that game against someone a fair bit lower rated than me. It was the first game of the tournament and I played pretty bad. It was not to be recommended. Alright, I think I'm getting close to my end now as well. I was kind of hoping to see this game end before I leave though. Alright, so up, b3, not b4, okay. And knight, king over to e5. I'm kind of hoping to see this game end before I go. I mean, you don't want to take, it doesn't help. You want white to take, but they're not taking, so what are you just trying to move your king over here? But you still have to defend this pawn of yours. So you have to either move this back, or you have to move it into the front of it. Here. Here, and then... Yeah, I think you can't though. You have to put it here then, right? Because you're trying to keep white out of all these squares, and b4 is only protected by your bishop. So the bishop needs to stay on this diagonal, but it also has to defend your pawn. So bishop here doing all of this, and then your king kind of moves around. And they're gonna get stuck here. They won't be able to get you on this diagonal at the same time. So you're here, they check you, you're here, and then they have to take a move. And when you come, you take g2. I mean, if that would be what happens. The tricky thing here for white is obviously that this bishop also, if it doesn't move, keeps their king from moving in. You can't get into your own pawn side. You have to move a pawn up to get onto the light squares. So if you go here, yo, I'm impressed with him for playing on. This is tough stuff. I guess you want to get your king all the way over here at least. And then when you can see that they're figuring out that they might have to do something. What then? Here? Push. Take, push past. And come to the front and take the light square pawns. Okay. I'm a little bit impressed that they're playing on. I think it's quite a good move. Alright, there's the knight over as well. So we were lost here, d5, that gives the c5 square. This is not something you see a lot, but it is playable. you take the knight with the dark square bishop and give them kind of like a worse structure. This pawn is now potentially passed, but then it would be a little bit too isolated, so you don't push it. If they ever take, obviously you get a protected passer. Knight g3, very good. You're still looking to press up here. You also sometimes put your bishop on e2 because you end up kind of like liquidating the pawns here a bit, although without a dark square bishop I'm not sure how good that's going to work. It's a little bit of a difficult ask. So I'm not sure. I'm not so sure about trading the dark square bishop in this structure. You've got so many squares now that you don't have any control over. Little bit risky. Little bit risky. Okay. And over here with the newest game, where were we here? Alright, the reverse Grunfeld apparently. Oh, 95, still waiting. Alright. See if anything's happened here. This is the only game I really want to see something from still. Bishop e2. Come on, omertil. Oh my goodness, they push past. Okay, so they're going for a break over here, right? That's kind of the point. They want to be able to run down here. Black says this feeling of either losing on the spot or winning. Fair enough, it could be either one. I can't. King f6 allowing f4. King f6 allowing f4. Oh, up here and then this. Yeah, because you can't take. It's a good find actually. If you played king f6 and I played f4, your pawn is pinned to your king. Really dangerous. So I mean you can defend it again, but that's tough stuff. Maybe not the position you want to be in. Next move the bishop d6 and then start the king march. Bishop d6, yep, so we did see this. Has to defend the backwards pawn, has to defend the b4 square. And the point for black is they're trying to walk their king in here. Here, 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 here. White can stop them from doing that by going here though, so I'm not so sure if that actually works. And if h4, then walk the king back and start with bishop e7, g5. Then they break. No, I don't think h4 is necessary. I don't know if this works, to be honest. Currently your king can't get in anyway, so what if I just do nothing? Back here. And I'm like, no! And you go here. And then I get here. Check. You have to go back. I don't know. I like that black's trying to find a way through, but I don't think that works. Yeah, I don't see that working out too well. It's a bit unfortunate. It's fun to look for these late game wins, but no good. Take, knight g3. Black over here looking for a move. Your light square bishop hasn't been developed at all. And you don't really want to take and give them a protected passer, but maybe you need to. Also no easy way to move your knight around. Obviously here it would be attacking some squares, but it's a little bit out of the way. Here, this is pretty well protected. So black situation, can they break through in some way? A little bit on the sleepy side. Yeah, tricky, eh? I've seen people sack on this as well. I don't recommend it. I don't think it's going to be very good for black to do. Some of the reasons that works out sometimes is because the king hasn't castled, but I don't think that's going to work too well. Take here. You can oppose. Queen comes in. I wouldn't mind this maybe. No, I would. Not so strong. Alright, and then sideshow Bobs. What happened here? Okay, e5, they do take, knight takes, queen trade. Yeah, okay, and back there. And in this situation, I've also seen this, because I've played it. It's not perfect. You gotta take the back kick of the pawn. Obviously the situation here is if you take the pawn, this can't immediately be taken. But there are ways around that. There's also the idea of just jumping your knight here and trying to get the fork, which is worth thinking about. If your knight jumped over here, your king can't walk into the center anymore, so a little bit tricky. Could be dangerous. There's also this idea, you can't defend the knight in any great way, so it might just have to jump out of the way, and in that case, well, black could still come for it because they would still have the check first. So I quite like this. White could still come for it. I like this knight a3 move. Pretty good. Alright, we've had a few more moves here. Black, bishop a3, knight e6, bishop a5. Huh. Okay. Interesting. So obviously this is the same general idea, right? You just stop the king from doing what it's doing. Although if you go here, I go here, yeah, just stop you from doing what you're doing. Do nothing. Yeah, this isn't even a break. White can just do nothing. If you push, then the pawns get stuck. If you take, the pawns are stuck this way. Yeah, I appreciate the push, but I think that there's no clear way to make progress here. No clear way to make progress. Still waiting. Alright, I think we've hit about 2.5 hours. I think this is my max. I'm gonna call it. Nice trade, a3, bishop. Oh, okay, so not immediately taking either. If you're coming here, I'm castling out of the way. Safety first. I can always try to pick up your pawn later. Or you can pick up my pawn, defend your own. Yep, you do that. So in this case, white has got an extra e pawn. Black's got a 2v3 majority on the queen side. For if and when that matters eventually. White's also got this knight light square bishop hitting the b7 square, could be dangerous. Might be fun to do this jump to hit that pawn twice. I have to see. Wouldn't mind taking back and then trying to push to get 2 pawns stuck here. That could be quite strong for white as well. Alright, I'm gonna call it. I don't think that there's going to be a way for black to make progress here, unfortunately, and the other 2 games just started, but I think that's it for me. Thank you everyone for coming past, and everyone who stuck around. That was a good session, 2.5 hours. Unfortunately, as the game finishes, when there's a little bit of a lull, I don't want to go and advertise again and again and again that we're still streaming when the new games start, but I'll be sharing the link with everyone who is playing right now so they can come have a look at what we did cover of their games. So thanks again for joining, and yeah, see you guys next time. Be safe.